Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, show 160, coming to you live from River Road Studios in Eugene, Oregon. This show is sponsored by Hunter Creation, graphic designers and website designers putting your marketing ideas into reality. Call them for business cards, brochures, printing, logos, you name it, they got you covered. Contact them at huntercreation.com. And Occupy Medical.
Occupy Medical is a new home, 1717 Centennial. We have 2 suites open, one for medical and one for hospitality. And as always, we are a integrated health clinic, and now we're in Springfield, Oregon. We're a 501c3. Check us out at occupy-medical.org.
Ace High Heat Graphics, custom imprinted apparel, shirts, pants, you name it. You want to put your logo on it or a message for your group, it's a great way to raise money. They can help you out and help you find the best way to maximize your fundraising money. Contact them at sales@acehighheatgraphics.com. And Sierra Lupe.
Sierra Lupe Herbal Consulting is my consulting site, and you can get a hold of me for help with your existing diagnosis. I work with prescriptions that you already have and integrating those. And you can get a hold of me at sierralupeherbalconsulting@gmail.com.
Actually, so I think it's Sierra Lupe Herbal Consulting at gmail.com.
Not what I said?
No, you added your Sue on front of it.
Oh, okay. You know where you can get a hold of me? Let me tell you. It's at Sierra Lupe Herbal Consulting @gmail.com.
There you go. And Get Healthy Now with Candace.
Get Healthy Now with Candace is all about connecting people with plants to transform lives. Candace, myself, I am accepting new clients. So if you'd like to sign up for a consult, you can check it out, get on the schedule, go to gethealthynowwithcandace.com.
So, we love doing this every week, and we love meeting at our new studio space and doing this recording. But there's another part that we love about it, and it is producing all the information. But the more important thing is that how can people help us help them?
Yeah.
And there's multiple ways. So one of the ways is they can buy our ebooks on Amazon. If they searched the Practical Herbalist Press on Amazon, they'd find 9 to 10 books that they could download or not download, buy, and they put on their Kindle or other reading device like an iPad or a computer. That's a really great way. That's a little small part that helps us keep doing what we're doing. Another way is if you're not big on ebooks, but you shop on Amazon, did you know that if you click on any one of our links in our stories or our articles that
on our website,
right, you don't have to buy that item.
The links that go to Amazon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So the Amazon links that are on our on our site, like on our show notes, for instance, for this show, there'll probably be a couple books that we've referenced in our conversation. There'll be a link there, and if you want to buy that book, great. But let's say you don't. Let's say you go there and you decide that you don't like it, but you have other things to shop for that day.
Yep. Like a pizza oven.
Right, like a pizza oven. So everything
that would be nice. I wouldn't mind one of them.
Everything you purchase that day or during that event,
that shopping session,
we get a referral for that. So that's another way that you can support the Practical Herbalist without even actually spending any money supporting the Practical Herbalist.
Without spending anything that you wouldn't have already spent.
Right. Like Christmas is coming.
Exactly. And it doesn't cost, doesn't cost you any more to shop that way. Amazon pays us as a referral partner to send you their way.
Right.
So it's a great way for you to support the Practical Herbalist without really having to open up your wallet and saying, I'm going to give you money. Now, if that's the way you like to support us, there's another way. That is
Herbal Nerd Society.
Exactly, the Herbal Nerd Society.
Right.
That's direct support to us. If you become an Herbal Nerd Society member, you help fund Sue and Candace's ability to do those special in-depth articles that they do. They spend hours writing them and researching them. Then there's also the Herb of the Month, not Herb of the Month, but the Let's Talk series where, when we have a guest here that's really interesting, it's a new cool topic, we ask them to stay longer. So that's more time that we put in together for you guys. The other thing that you'll have is access to 140 podcasts that no one else can hear anymore because they are in the archive. And that's another thing that you get. And, the cool thing about all this is it's cheap. I mean, we're talking 17 cents a day.
Yeah. $4.99 a month or... For the whole year.
Yeah, $49.99. Yeah, so you get basically 2 months free if you go for the whole year.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Less
a
than
great deal.
$50.
It's, less than $50.
And
Can't-
that-
and it's a class you're getting in exchange for supporting us, basically.
Yeah.
We're going through it herb by herb, exactly the way we've been telling everybody for years. This is how we want you to learn it herb by herb.
The beauty of it, too, is that the Herbal Nerd Society, last year's class is still available. All the articles are
That's right.
available.
Getting a
So,
lot of stuff there.
yeah.
Right, a lot of websites that you do learning programs for them, and they have a finite amount of time that they're going to be up, or they're running that program or that seminar, or that special. Our stuff's always up. Once you're a member, you get it. It's there. So that's a really great way. And again, 17 cents a day.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
Nope, not with a stick.
I mean, you can't park anywhere for that. You can't. I mean, I can't try to think what I could buy for 17 cents if I go to the store.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Couple of bananas.
Couple bananas. So if you are interested in joining the Practical Herbalist Herbal Nerd Society, there's two ways you can do it. If you find an article you really want to read and you click on it, and it'll say, "Oh, gotta log in," and it'll bring you to a login page. But if you want to not be frightened when you see that login page, if you go to the practicalherbalist.com, at the very top, there's a Join the Herbal Nerd Society tab. A little button there. Click there, open up the page, and you can choose between monthly or yearly. And you'll be set. And then you'll be a member, and you get all those benefits we talked about.
And it'll be fun. It'll be a party.
It is fun.
It'll be an herbal
It's
party.
an herb party.
All right, so on with the show. As herbalism has grown in popularity over the past couple of decades, we herbalists have seen an explosion in the number of practicing herbalists and quality of care they provide. In many ways, that's been a true gift to our field, but it's come with some challenges too. Today we're talking with Thomas Easley, Director of the Eclectic School of Herbal Medicine and founder of Functional Herbalism, about how herbalists are changing the world and our field. Now here are your hosts, Candace Hunter and Sue Sierralupe.
I'm Candace Hunter.
And I'm Sue Sierra Lupe.
And welcome to Real Herbalism Radio. Hello, Thomas.
Hi,
Welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
And you're here in the flesh.
Yes.
Not over the phone, but
Right, I
actually in
know.
person.
In studio.
Yep.
Woohoo. Sounds all fancy.
Yes, indeed. Well, yeah, you're here to speak at the free
Free
herbalism project.
Yep.
And that will be available. I know that Mountain Rose puts that out as a podcast. And
Yes.
so possibly by the time that
At some point.
this interview airs, that people will also be able to listen to your talk.
Yeah.
Which
Great.
will be very
It'd be
nice.
awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're here in Oregon, and the thing that we've talked to you about before is kind of the definition for clinical herbalism.
Okay,
what that
no.
means.
Let's back that up.
What?
I want to know what functional herbalism is.
Oh, that's a
Let's
good
talk
idea.
about that.
Ignore
'Cause I love
Sue.
that. The Journal
Listen
of
to
Functional
Candace.
Herbalism.
Sure.
Let's talk about that.
First.
And then we'll get to clinical.
Okay, I'm second.
Right. So, functional herbalism is the style of practice that I developed that incorporates kind of equal parts traditional Western herbalism with clinical nutrition and functional medicine. And I was trained as a folk herbalist and only practiced folk herbalism for about 5 years.
That's about all we had back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what I found was like herbs worked great 70-80% of the time. And then like even when people did what I asked them to and I'm like practicing good herbalism, sometimes it just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I started incorporating nutrition and saw some of those holes kind of like fill in my practice.
That makes
because-
a huge difference.
Yeah. What I try to tell students is like, blue vervain is a really wonderful, relaxing, nervine for people that have stiff necks and shoulders. But people's stiff neck and shoulders wasn't caused by a deficiency of blue vervain, right? And sometimes magnesium is all that you need to get rid of your tense muscles.
Yeah.
If we give blue vervain when it's actually induced by a magnesium deficiency, are we helping or hurting? Are we potentially masking a symptom or not?
Right. Yeah. It's about the same as just taking some ibuprofen or something like that.
Which is, sometimes you need ibuprofen. Sometimes you need blue vervain. But sometimes you can mask causes of problems by treating the symptom and not getting deeper. And what I found in folk herbalism is that while it was really effective for a lot of things, sometimes it just wasn't getting deep enough.
Yeah.
And nutrition helped to fill in those gaps. And then I guess it was probably 2006 or 7, I reconnected with a childhood friend that had moved to Portland and become a naturopath. And she wanted to learn herbalism.
Nice.
And I wanted to learn how to read blood work.
Oh, nice.
And so we set up these phone calls and taught each other. And she taught me, naturopathy, and I taught her folk herbalism and energetics, which she hadn't gotten in school. And
that is a beautiful synergy.
yeah, it really worked well. And then as mainstream medicine caught on that naturopathy had something to offer, they kept tweaking the name of what they were going to call it, right? So it was originally it was alternative medicine, and then it was complementary alternative medicine, and then it was integrative medicine, and the latest buzzword has been functional medicine. And functional medicine is just the word, the term that medical doctors and people trained in allopathy use to describe like 10-year-old watered down naturopathic philosophy without vitalism.
Well, it's a
That's-
fabulous term
yeah.
because it basically acknowledges that at this point, regular allopathic medicine is not really that functional.
Yes.
Not necessarily because of the constraints of medicine itself,
Right.
but because of the fact that it's so capitalist.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And there's some amazing things in the functional medicine world. And there's also a fair bit of green allopathy where they're just substituting a
Right.
plant or a proprietary supplement or formula in place of a medicine,
Yeah.
and still not
Yeah.
digging into the root,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So my entire career, my thought has been, who cares where it comes from, right?
Right.
If it works, use it.
Right.
And so that's the eclectic physicians
Yeah.
of
I was
the
gonna say, hence the
1800s.
name
That was
eclectic,
their
yeah.
that was their philosophy. Is
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what tradition it comes from. If it works, use it. And so I've adopted that philosophy at my school, and kind of the evolution of my personal practice has been to incorporate the best of functional medicine and clinical nutrition with my folk herbalism roots. And that model is what we call functional herbalism.
Nice.
It integrates really well with the patient-centered care model that the clinic that I volunteer in follows, where the important thing is that the patient feels comfortable with what they've got, that they're making those choices. And if it's something within my scope, that's fabulous. I can easily help them with that. If it's something that is a little not my comfort zone, I have a volunteer that will help them walk them through that. So I have doctors, I have nurse practitioners. We've even had people that are acupuncturists. I am not an acupuncturist, but if that's what they want, I'm going to find them an acupuncturist so that they can get what they need. It's patient-centered care, and that's pretty much what you're talking about.
Yeah, it really is. We developed the term functional herbalism to describe our style, but really there's a lot of people that practice in a similar style. Another motivation for developing and then trademarking the term functional herbalism was so that when somebody said they were a functional herbalist, I knew what that meant.
Mhm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
To use the title functional herbalist, you have to pass an exam
Mhm.
that's pretty grueling and comprehensive. I think the average is somewhere around 60 to 80 pages of short answer and essays.
Ooh.
And you have to commit to 30 CEUs every year. You have to commit to a review of your clinical cases.
Yeah.
Make sure that, at least to the best of my ability, I know that people using that term are actually practicing actively and continuing their education and continuing to learn and grow.
Well, that's
Yeah.
great because as a clinic manager, I run into this problem constantly. People come in and they want to volunteer at the clinic, and they'll wave a paper in front of me and say, "I've graduated
I'm
from
certified.
I'm certified from."
And certified doesn't mean
doesn't mean jack
Much.
diddly.
Yeah.
And, my patients are really, really sick. They're very fragile and they are very vulnerable. And there is a very narrow section of clinical herbalists that have the capacity of working with them. Doesn't mean that other people working with other populations aren't qualified. It just means to be with this particular group of folks, there's a lot of things that they have to know that you don't normally get in an herb school. So you have to integrate with a doctor. And there's some personality types that don't work well in you've been to our clinic, so you can imagine there are some personality types that they're not going to work very well. If you're very sensitive, that's not going to work well. We've got a lot coming at people all the time. So just that piece, let alone being aware of what the evidence-based medicine is out there, being willing to go out and read, like Candace and I are reading stuff all the time, research and different things like that.
Yeah.
We have an incentive to do that.
Yeah, it's an intense experience. That's part of why I haven't volunteered, because I'm like, no, I'm much too sensitive to be in that place.
Yeah, however,
it's not right for me.
I pick at her brain all the time because she's reading as much as I am. You have to be constantly on it. Constantly on it. And to have something where, like, this is what I've been asking for all the time. Man, if I had something that would just check some of the folks that are coming in, that they have some kind of proof that they've at least been able to master some basics. I have herbalists come in, they don't even know what a blood pressure means.
Right.
They don't know what it means. They couldn't tell me what 120/80, they don't even know what that means.
Right.
These are super basic things. To triage a person, not so much. And it's not for everybody, I get it. But for this particular clinic, it's mandatory.
Well, I think that herbalism is so broad that it can fit many roles.
Yes, and it should.
And it should.
Yes.
And I have no illusions that functional herbalism is superior to any other form of herbalism.
Correct.
Right.
But I know exactly what it means.
It's clear.
It's clearly defined.
Like this is, okay, here's the clinical herbalism thing. It used to be that you would say, oh, I'm a clinical herbalist. And it was clear that meant that someone who saw a clinical herbalist would go in, they expect to sit down, spend a length of time, whatever that may be, talking about health history and various, current symptomology and whatever else, and then walk out with an idea of what to do next, probably with some herbs in hand. That was what clinical herbalism used to mean.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not so sure that that's really what it means anymore. I mean, what do you guys think?
Now, a word from Thomas Easley about the Journal of Functional Herbalism.
The Journal of Functional Herbalism is a free online journal promoting the integration of traditional Western herbalism, clinical nutrition, and functional medicine. It's published by the Eclectic School of Herbal Medicine, and you can find the Journal of Functional Herbalism at functionalherbalism.com. I know that there are a lot of people that have been given the title clinical herbalist or title themselves clinical herbalist that don't practice anything anywhere near the way that I practice. And there's no judgment in that, but I don't know what to expect when I sit down to talk with somebody who is a clinical herbalist.
Right.
And 15 years ago, I did know what to expect.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, I'm in BNI, right? And in BNI, I have said I am an herbalist.
BNI stands for
Business Networking International. And you can always contact me to ask about it.
Yes, you can.
I'm one of 3 herbalists who have declared themselves as herbalists in BNI. And when I talk to people and I say I'm an herbalist, they say things like, oh yeah, I love that, that tea that I got from the grocery store that's got some herbs in it. I use that whenever I get sick with a plant. I'm an herbalist too. And I'm like, well, yeah, but that's not a business. You're not doing it, practicing it professionally. So I've tried many different ways of languaging it, but ultimately I think the term herbalist has gotten really watered down considerably.
It absolutely has.
And I do think that it's important. I mean, I think to me, the people who bring herbs into their house and use them to deal with flus and colds and things like that, that's just like, to me, that seems like, well, that's just normal living. That doesn't make you an herbalist. That's just what you should do if you are smart and practical about taking care of your health and family. But
But it's so
It's-
new to a lot of different people.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the catbird seat here.
Yeah.
You know, you and I have been herbalists for a long time.
Right.
So for someone to say, "Hey, I just tried echinacea. Have you heard of that?" You know, you're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Yes, I have.
Yes, yes, indeed." Did the echinacea that you try give it a little tingle in your mouth? No, is it supposed to? Well, let's talk about that. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it just there's a difference between using an herb and being an herbalist.
Yes.
And we want to empower everybody
Yes.
to bring more good nutrition and the potency of
Everybody
herbs into
should
their
be an
life.
herbalist.
You should have
Not
access to
everybody's a
healing.
clinical herbalist.
Correct.
Clinical herbalist should be more clearly defined, but it's not.
Yeah, we should have wonderful plants in our life. We should have a plant-based diet. We should know all kinds of different alternatives for healing ourselves. We should know how our bodies work. That is my dream.
That should be base level education.
It should be.
Right,
And
right.
that's
One
one of
would
the reasons
think,
why
yeah.
we started this podcast.
Yes.
Is because it was another way to share all that information that we think of as basic, but unfortunately is not as basic as we would like. But with what you're talking about,
Yeah, well, and so I don't know that my idea is like the solution, but it's a solution.
well, there's not only one problem.
Yeah,
So
that's
of
true.
course,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, 100 years ago, roughly, there were multiple schools, and they were clear. If you were in the eclectic school, or if you were following them, or Thomsonian, or
Physiomedicalist or homeopathic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
they all had clarity. If you said you're a homeopathic physician,
follow
or
the scope
there
or
was a
whatever
specific
modality.
way that you're practicing, the types of herbs and how you're using them, what someone would expect. Someone could say, "Oh, I'm going to a homeopath." They know what they're going to get when they walk in the door. We don't really have that because it was all destroyed and it's re-evolving. And I think, Thomas, you're at the front edge of that with starting to develop and be clear about this is what this school is. And if you practice this and use this name to describe yourself, it means
Mhm.
this.
That's what I'm hoping for. You know, I also feel not great about being like the only school that you can get the designation from.
The gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper, right?
Mhm.
And so what I'm working on is I've talked with several herbal elders about right now the designation is given to graduates of my school that pass my final exam, which is a 4 12-hour day final exam that's really grueling. And you know, if you miss a red flag, you fail the entire exam. And
Right.
and maybe that's
Because in
too
real
much.
life, if you miss that red flag, you may have killed somebody.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Right. So, what my plans are is late summer, early fall to offer an exam for free, open to the public, based upon my current final exam. That will be an exam of basic competency screening for your knowledge of physiology, pathophysiology, red flags, nutrition, basic herbalism. And then you don't have to graduate my school to use the title of functional herbalist. And at no cost, if you pass the exam, you get listed on our practitioner directory. I created functional herbalism not because of any financial incentive. I simply want to know that the person that I refer someone to, without a shadow of a doubt, is a competent practitioner.
Mhm.
Nice.
So the
yeah.
person that was taking it, because you're dealing with a lot of people that have full-time jobs or
Mhm.
whatever, they would be able to take it over a period of time.
No, they would have to come on site and take it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's the
open
only
book.
way that-
It's the only way I
you
know
can
to do
control
it.
it.
Control
Yeah.
it.
You know,
Yeah, I understand.
I could see eventually having several locations that it was offered with a
Mhm.
couple of different, proctors in different regions.
Mhm.
But our first exam will be on campus in North Carolina, and
Makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
It's the beginning of the way it was done.
Mhm.
You know, a couple hundred years ago, there's your school,
Mhm.
and you're serious and you're
Mhm.
uncompromising in your standards, and you will have students, one or two of them initially, who will be, I want to be as uncompromising, and they want to establish a school.
Mhm.
And they will become, and it will grow. I mean, you'll
I
have
hope so.
more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important because the reality is, as herbalists, we're seeing more herbalists in clinics opening up their own clinics and doing more complex stuff.
Yeah.
I'm seeing more people teaching herbalism than practicing herbalism.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
there's that, and
I mean-
and some of the things they're teaching, even people that have podcasts, for example. God bless everyone that has a podcast.
We love
I should say,
podcasters.
yes, cheers to podcasts. But I've heard some herbal podcasts that gave me pause.
Hmm.
And they're in that, if you're in a podcast position, you're in a teaching position.
Right.
And the kind of things that they're sharing with other people is not, it doesn't fit the reality that I have noted over the last 30 some odd years of being an herbalist. And it concerns me. So having something like this, if we can go through and say, this is what I've learned, here's the proof in the pudding, wherever,
Yeah.
whoever's giving that, it's fine. And then be able to be in those more extreme, going to Haiti as you did and helping people in those situations there. If that's what you feel like you need to go to there, and there's a lot of people in some pretty serious need, then you should be able to show a doctor or whatever, here's this piece of paper, and it actually means something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the other pieces of paper don't mean something to other practitioners and other
Right.
types of herbalism, because there are a ton of them. We
Yeah.
we have a diverse planet and diverse cultures, but for people that be working in a specific type of clinic or, I mean, that's of course the way I think,
Sure.
but we're going to be in hospitals.
Well,
That is our destiny.
Even like, I mean, we're sitting in my clinic, right? It's my
Right.
house, right?
Yeah.
But even in this setting, I have people come to me who are on a battery of pharmaceuticals, or they've been through a battery of different tests and things that they've done, or
Yeah.
they've had various procedures performed in years past, sometimes recent, sometimes not.
Mhm.
And I need to understand that stuff. And honestly, I don't trust the medical community, the allopathic community, to know how any plant will interact with the stuff they're doing.
They haven't been taught.
So it's my job to make sure that all those pharmaceuticals are not, that I'm not offering an herb or suggesting an herb that's going to be problematic for this client.
That's
It's
very
my
true.
job, not their job, because they're not going to do it. They're not taught that.
Yeah.
I mean, what did I recently hear? They get less than 10 hours of nutritional training
And that's 10 hours more than what they had 20 years ago.
in an entire coursework for a doctor, a physician, which is what? Does that come out to like 8 years worth of training that they go through when you include residency? That's pitiful. So they aren't going to know whether the magnesium that I may have suggested is going to interact adversely with the rest of the battery of stuff that they've got going on. So we all need to know what we're doing.
And I'll take it one step farther. Being familiar with modern medicine, I think, is a necessity for herbalists dealing with complex modern problems.
Yes.
And I don't think that herbalists, we can't legally diagnose, and I don't think that should be our problem. But in a medical system where you're lucky to get 3 or 4 minutes with a physician,
Right.
I think that herbalists need to be familiar enough with modern medicine to double check what has been tested for, and if a proper differential has been run, and if anything was missed. I have caught many cases where, like, the physician ran the test and then didn't look at it, didn't see that the value was
tons
high.
of times. I've seen that, you bet.
And I've had this happen a couple of times. Somebody goes in for like a thyroid test.
Right, for the T4s, right? You're thinking
Well,
T4s
no, I'm
or
thinking-
T3s?
No, TSH, right?
Oh.
I've had new
T4s.
doctors, new nurse practitioners look at a TSH test and say, "Oh, that's high. That's great. That means your thyroid's working well."
Oh, no, that would
that's
be
not
the
what that means.
opposite.
That's the opposite.
I'm going for a high score here.
Yes, even I know that.
And chances are the doctor would have caught that and known what
Yes.
it meant to
If they had time to breathe.
999
Yes.
times out of 1,000,
Yeah.
but that one out of 1,000 when they're tired and they've seen 50 people that day and they glanced at it and they
Yeah.
had brain fog, like
Yeah.
People make
herbalists need
mistakes.
to be familiar
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
with the common modern medical procedures,
And
complaints,
that's why you
diagnoses.
work with a team.
Yes.
That's why you work
Yeah.
with a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen too many herbalists that say, well, all modern medicine is horrible.
Oh no.
You know,
No.
don't use Tylenol, don't use whatever. Don't use any of that stuff. It's all poison. Like,
I disagree with that stance. I
But
think that a variety and individual, you have to decide on each individual
yeah.
case.
And the patient has to decide
Yeah.
what's their comfort level.
Mhm.
You know, our job is to be healers, not prisoner takers. We're not supposed to be like converting the masses. This isn't a religion. This is a
Right.
healing modality.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any profession, there is going to be that personality type that is the hard driving fanatical, what we might refer to as a verbena personality type,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that
A
exists,
Yes.
a zealot, right?
Yeah.
And that exists in herbalism, and it exists in Ayurveda and TCM and
Pretty much
naturopathy
everything.
and
Yeah.
osteopathy and chiropractic, and it's
Mhm.
there are many of these things that aren't exclusive to a profession or a style of practice. They
Yeah.
exist as personality types, and because
Yeah.
we're human.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to, I don't want to denigrate people I don't want to denigrate a profession because some people are that way.
Right.
Right.
Right. So
Very true.
there are shitty herbalists, and
Oh,
there
hell yeah.
and
Yeah.
there are shitty
There are.
doctors
Mhm.
and shitty lawyers and
Yeah.
plumbers and electricians, and having a profession or an education or a certificate doesn't exempt you from incompetency.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is so true.
But
Yeah.
we can, I think, start setting standards that minimize the chance of incompetency.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate
Honestly, I wish I was living in your side of the country because I would love to go and because it would really push me. I would
You
love
do
that.
know that I have a
would love
video
that.
studio set up in my classroom and live stream the whole
Yes.
thing.
And you do know that I have
I didn't know
taken,
that.
I've been doing that. I've
Yeah.
been doing that. I mean, I have to do it piece at a time, but I've been doing that.
Oh, the module,
Yeah.
online
I've been
modules,
doing
yeah.
one bit at a
Mhm.
time. I'm
Wait,
working
what?
and I'm
Say
still,
the things.
yeah.
Well, I have a full-time program that is 1,600 hours over 11 months that can be done on site in North Carolina. But I also have a recording studio in my classroom, and I live stream my full-time program. The only on-site requirement is the final exam, but most of our online students come in as frequently as they can so that they can
Yeah.
work out of our clinic and use our lab for medicine making.
What is there some kind of address or something? How do people get hold of that? They
Just go
look
to
on your
the website. Yeah, the
Yeah.
website is
Okay.
broken down into full-time, part-time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I have the full-time, which is an 11-month, 1,600-hour program, and then I have a part-time, which is I think I'm at 32 or 33 modules that range from 4 hours to 30 hours each, and they can be taken individually or they can be part of a certificate program.
Right. Yeah, I have like fantasy, and I'm saying fantasy because I still have life to deal with, but I have a fantasy of doing the program and eventually turning it into a certificate program.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, I've been doing just a module at a time. I loved the fact that you had the Jim McDonald class that you did. That was
That's
20
what
hours.
you were
It was,
talking about.
oh my God, that was
With
so
Matthew
wonderful.
and Jim.
It was just with Jim. And it
Oh,
was
right.
just
So
this last.
the humoral.
Yes, the humoral. It was, and for me, there was like several points where it's like suddenly it clicked.
Yeah.
Because I've read the humoral stuff and I've read Matthew Wood and it makes sense, but it's always this ephemeral, like I'm grasping and not quite getting it. And then that last piece of having Jim there and you know, being able to ask questions.
Mhm.
I mean, that's when it finally clicked. I'm like, I finally have my hands on this. It was wonderful. So yeah, I've been working through bit by bit, slow. I'm always a turtle's pace, so
Yeah, well, we try to make learning as accessible as possible. So we have these multiple options, the modules that you can take what you're interested in, or the full-time intensive, which is, I kind of liken it to, you can learn Spanish by taking weekly classes at your local community college, or you can move to Guatemala for 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Different learning types require
Yes.
different styles of teaching, and so we try to accommodate that. But we're not the only school teaching great herbalism, right?
Yes, right.
Lisa Ganora, the Colorado school. You have the Vermont school. You have Chris Smaka. You have some amazing herb schools all over the country that are doing amazing work in multiple realms, and I honestly couldn't be prouder of being an herbalist. Just the growth in the field the last 5 years.
It's been
It's true.
amazing.
It's true.
It's been amazing for me the last decade, watching it just expand, and it's been amazing. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
All right,
I
so
appreciate
folks
that.
need to check in at the Journal of Functional Herbalism.
yep,
Yes,
so you can go
please.
to functionalherbalism.com. Our first journal is up. Our second one will hopefully be up by the time you're listening to this. I am actually the only author who is late in submitting, and I'm holding the whole second edition up.
Oh, prima
Thomas.
donna.
It's so the second journal is all on autoimmunity, and I'm currently rewriting my 10-step approach to autoimmunity, and we have
Oh.
Is
case
that what you're
history.
I can
talking
hardly
about
wait to see
at-
that.
You're talking about something about inflammation at the Free Herbalism Project.
No, Free Herbalism
No.
Project. I'm talking about building resilience.
Yeah.
So it does have something to do with the immune system?
No, it's
Nervous system.
it's how
Oh.
to increase your tolerance for daily life bullshit.
Oh, I have nothing.
Yes.
I have this glass
Yes.
of mead.
Right?
That is what I have.
And sometimes that works, and sometimes you should.
Throat punch. No throat punch.
No, Taekwondo.
Okay.
Boot to the head.
I was
You're
going
right.
to say sometimes you should do a little gardening, take a walk in
Yes.
nature,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
deep
True.
breathing, progressive muscular relaxation, meditation,
Yes.
maybe some skull cap, wood betony,
Skull
Damiana, milky oats. We
Yep.
have things that can help us be not as reactive. I just to rant here, I really do think our society and media pushes us towards that stress response and
There's money in
reactivity because we become compulsive consumers
Yes.
when we're in fight or flight.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so how can we build a tolerance to that? And that's what I'm talking about at the Free Herbalism Project.
Wow.
It's going to be fun. I think that's
Wish
going
I
to be a good
could
track.
go.
I'm going to be there.
No, you're going to be there, God
Sue's
damn
got to
it.
work.
Yeah.
Ha ha.
I'll get you later. That's
I
fine.
know you will.
All right. Well,
Oh.
thank you very much for being here.
Yes. Where
and
can folks find
clarifying
you?
this.
Oh, yeah. So you can go to functionalherbalism.com to check out the journal and our practitioner directory. And you can go to eclecticschoolofherbalmedicine.com to check out our school and classes.
Lovely.
Well, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You know what we like to say?
Put an herb on it.
The statements made about herbs and products on this podcast have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided on this podcast or any affiliated websites is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use the information on this podcast and its affiliated websites for a diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. Always consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new vitamins, supplements, diet, or exercise program before taking any medication, or if you have or suspect you might have a health problem. Any testimonials, questions, or case studies are based on individual results and do not constitute a guarantee that you will achieve the same results.